So Flanders is in the northern part of Belgium. So a little bit of a political mess there. So the money for research and universities comes from the regional government of Flanders. So that's why we only have Flemish supercomputers, not Flanders. So we try to help our users to use the systems really well, to be self-empowered so they can figure out how to do things themselves. Of course, they can always come to us for help. We do a lot of work on automating, just to save ourselves time. You will see some of that. And we also try to collaborate not only in Flanders, but also with other sites in Europe and the world. For me personally, I was trained in computer science at Kenneth University and a master's and PhD there. I joined the HPC UCAN team in October 2010 after I was using the first clusters that they have there very intensively. So I was a user as well for quite a long time. And they were looking for people to help out with user support. And that was a good fit for me. I'm still doing user support, also a bit of training, and then the main guy takes care of the software installations in our team. And you'll see this throughout the presentation. So the EasyGo project was basically thrown into my lap shortly after I joined the team. And slowly I became the main guy for doing this and also the release manager responsible for releasing the project. I'm a big fan of loud music and also open source software. So whenever I can, I try to promote open source projects, and everything will be seen in this presentation is open source. You can find me on Twitter, on GitHub, on IRC, and you can find my mail as well if there are any questions. So the scope for the training this morning is on, in general, tools for HPC systems, which is very generic, but more specific for installing scientific software for users. Not all of the projects I will be covering are in that direction, but they're at least connected. I'm only going to talk about open source projects that are still actively maintained, well documented, community behind it, so lots of people are using it. Some other things I will not be talking about, which I think are important and listed there. For several of these, there are sessions throughout the training this week. The latest hive is actually going on in the other room. Okay, so an overview of what we will be discussing this morning. So I'm going to start out with a brief overview of several different tools, including EasyBuild and LMOS, which I'll cover in detail in the second part. So let's first look at the bird's eye view of these tools. I'll start with EasyBuild and LMOS very briefly. And each of these tools have a particular use case. So let's start out with installing scientific software for users of HPC systems. So this is a big part of user support. Typically, the researchers and the scientists don't have the knowledge to really install some of the software they need themselves very often. Because compilation is involved and they don't know what compiler is. There's also dependency that has to be taken care of. If you just Google around and see how to install software, it says get installed. Your rights for that users simply don't have. So the traditional packages like Yum and apt-get are not sufficient. So scientific software is a whole different ballgame. It's not like traditional tools and Linux. Traditional tools for package managers are not a good fit. I'll come back to that later. So typically, software is installed on HPC systems. You compile it from source, maybe with specific compilers, options. You want to make sure it's optimized for hardware to run on it. As I already told you, users usually lack knowledge to do this themselves, but at least do it efficiently. And scientific software has quite a bit of challenges. So, this is a problem for every HPC set. So every HPC set has to provide software for their users. There was very little collaboration between HPC sets, even though everybody's software has this problem. most of these problems is easy build, which is the main project that we'll be talking about today. I'll go into detail later in the second part. So installing the software is one part, of course, of getting the software to compile, to build, to ensure all dependencies are in place. But then how do you give users access to that? Typically, the software is installed in a non-standard location in Linux, so it's not in user local or any of these places, which means users also have to set up their environment to like modify the path environment variables, so the binaries are found, making sure libraries are found, what the binaries need, and so on. And for most users, this is complex and don't really care about this. They just want stuff to work. Users also need to be able to query which software is available, which versions are available, which software is compatible with other software. This is not a new problem, of course. It's been around as long as clusters have been around. And a well-established solution for this is environment models. So who knows about environment models? What this is? Okay. I'll explain this a little bit in the second part of the session. It's a well-established tool. Basically, most HPC sites are using this. It has a couple of problems. Even though it's been around for a very long time, it's not really actively maintained. At least not with the additional models. Which means it's slowly getting behind on modern HPC clusters. That was the bad news. The good news is there's a newer tool called LMOD, which is basically the same interface to users. It's still module load and prevail and so on. But it's an actively maintained tool, it's a new tool. It has a lot of additional features as well. And this will be the second tool we'll be covering in detail this afternoon. All right, so some of the other projects I will be talking about, let's go to these four, actually 5 projects. So the first one is Singularity. So before I show the using slide, who knows about Singularity? Maybe only a couple. So the use case here is that users typically want to do their research, their science, their simulations, or whatever they are doing, not only on their HPC systems, but also on their local systems. So they want to play around with the software locally, and then once they have figured out what they want to simulate, what they want to run, they will switch to the HPC system and just start all the heavy computations there. Typically, the workflow they have locally and on the HPC system is very different. Just because of the way the software is provided, because they have to use this job system, these jobs, while on the local system you just run things. And the environment is typically very different, and users struggle with that. So they want to be able to, whatever they prepare on their laptop, just move it to the HPC system and start running. This is very confusing and time-consuming for users. They don't for it has been used in IT for all the software that they need to define how things are supposed to run, how things are configured, and then it just starts running, services come up, and everything is magically works. The downside of HPC is that it's not really a good fit for HPC, at least not traditional tools like all. They're not really intended for the HPC use case where you have multiple users on the same system, which are sharing lots of resources, shared file systems, all that stuff. Very recently, a new project was created. It's called Singularity, which is a little bit of a strong name, let's say, it has some connotations, but it's an important project and it's getting a lot of attention. It's basically a container solution for HPC, so it's really targeted from the ground up to solve this workflow issue of HPC clusters. So they call it mobility of compute, so they basically tell or have a story that users can define a container where all the software, all the dependencies are there, maybe even the data that they want to use in their simulation is there, And then we can just move that container image to any Linux system and start running, including its specific cluster. That's the central idea. It also helps with reproducible science, because once you have a container, you just give it to somebody else and they can do the simulations the same way you were doing them. So you can reproduce, easily reproduce results from papers. The container that was used for that paper is available. That's kind of the idea. It's a good fit for HPC because it deals with the security concerns that are there with Docker. So Docker, for example, has a root daemon run somewhere in the system. And every time you start a container, it talks to this root daemon to get the right privileges and everything. So the container can actually work. This doesn't work in HPC if you tell an HPC administrator there's a root daemon running somewhere and every user talks to this, you get very nervous. Singularity is also in a totally different way. It needs administrative privileges with only very small parts. It has a set UID part, which is easy to review for security issues and so on. And then everything else is user space. So users don't need any administrative privileges to start containers. That's a very good fit for HPC. It also acts as a pass-through for a lot of stuff. So a lot of resources you have in HPC, like TPUs, accelerators, API, InfiniBand, just everything is accessible with the container. Which is, of course, a prerequisite for HPC. So let's take a closer look at Singularity. Maybe first, it was developed at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, which is a big lab in the US. The project lead, so this guy is Gregory Kurtzer. You probably don't know the name, but he also helped start the CentOS project, so CentOS Linux, which is a big Linux distribution often used in HPC. And he also started the Werewolf project, which is a configuration management tool like Puppet or Chef. It is also very good. So this guy knows what he's doing. He has lots of experience in developing tools for HPC or for Linux in general. He's very active. I don't know where he gets all the time to do what he does. And he's a nice guy as well. So the first release of Singularity was only last year in April, so it's very new. And really exploded very quickly. So by the time it was supercomputing conference last year in November, everybody knew already about it. Everybody was running around with stickers and talking about Singularity. It was one of the big topics at supercomputing last year. And they've been moving very quickly. So the last release in February, they're already preparing the 2.3 release, which has a whole bunch of new features. Has improved a lot. They're even allowing more things to work without the user needing root permissions for stuff. It's available on GitHub. And it will be included in the Open HPC distribution as well. I'll talk more about the OpenHPC later.
Is it factory released?
It's already there.
Already
yeah, Singularity is already there. So the 2.1 version is there now. You can just start using it. It's included in OpenHPC in the next release. It should be there. So they're working on it now, and in the next couple of weeks it should be included. So a closer look at how Singularity works. This is basically a typical container approach. So you have your Linux system, the Linux, of course, with hardware, Linux kernel running on top, so file system, and your applications. And then you also have a Singularity launcher. So this is basically what starts the container with applications inside and it communicates with the kernel. So this is just a regular container solution as it looks here. The difference with traditional solutions like Docker is, I already mentioned, there's no root daemon. So there's just only local process that starts the container. And they make a limited use of namespaces and Linux. So this is how they can easily pass through stuff like GPUs, CTI, InfiniBand. Everything is just inherited from humans, which is not done in a traditional container solution. That makes it very easy to integrate. You can just start a container and users can just continue using the API and InfiniBand almost like they were doing before. The security concerns that are there with containers of HPC systems are basically solved by Singularity. So of course, normal users should not be able to get root permissions on the system, on an HPC system. There's a lot of shared resources, there's shared file systems, you don't want users to look at files of other users. You definitely don't want users to get control over all jobs in the system, so they can start filling other jobs, moving their own jobs around. So privilege escalation is very sensitive. And if you have a root daemon running somewhere, and there have been lots of security bugs recently that allow users to escape containers and suddenly become root in the system. So that's a big concern. And singularity, this problem is basically solved because there's no way you can become root in a singularity container. If you start singularity as a normal user, you stay that exact same user in the container. So there's no part where you suddenly become root. If you want to be root in a container, the only way to do that is to start a container as root. There's no other way. That's a very important thing for HPC. So basically, the containers that are running are just user processes. If you as a root user to log into the system and the singularity containers being used, you run PS, you will just see the singularity process, and then you pass your needs and it's running. Yes, sure.
You mentioned before that creating HPC installation is very complicated. Most users doesn't know how to do that.
Right.
When you use containers, we saw it on our system, then you kind of shift the weight of making those containers to the user over to whoever they got the format for.
Yeah.
And then they get, it's not even installing regularly, it's like making a whole jail environment that they can go out. Make it more complicated for them. The question, how do you help them?
Not necessarily. So it's true that a tool like Singularity doesn't help with building containers, building images. That's still an issue. So that's not solved. It does help in the sense that you can just use an existing image. Somebody who knows how to build an image can do it for you. You can just start using it. So as a system administrator, you could build images for you. That would be one way of deploying applications in the system.
That makes it more complicated for the system administrator. It's allowed to support various images and various containers for users.
It depends. So there's a little bit of debate going on also to redeploy Singularity in our systems right now. We just tell users Singularity is there, it works. Where you get the images or how to create them is your problem. Because we're still going to install applications.
Yeah, your problem sounds nice.
It's not a problem. It's your problem in the sense of we get questions from users like we have a Docker container, we still want to start using it from the HPC systems. We say no, we're never going to support Docker, that's not going to work. But you can use Singularity. So if you have an existing Docker container, Singularity has a way to migrate it to a Singularity container. So you use Singularity import Docker container, then you get a new image that's a Singularity image and you can submit it. So there are several ways to get a working image. You don't have to create it from scratch. And not right now, but in the long run, we also want to have support an easy build to install Singularity images. And then it becomes a lot easier to create images to users. But you're right, this is still a problem. Singularity only helps with running containers, it doesn't help you to create containers for second feature. It's a good question.
I also ask a question. Can there be different distributions of Linux in this containers? But sometimes
I'm getting to that, yeah. The answer is my next slide. So, to get back to mobility of compute, reproducible science, and all that. So the container images are single files. So it's very easy to give the container to somebody else. You can just send them a mail, or maybe the container is going to distribute through a mail. You can easily make the containers available for other people. They're also very efficient on parallel classes because if you have a data set with lots of small files, you can actually pack it all together in one single big file. And as far as the file system is concerned on the HPC cluster, it's a single file. Users are just accessing stuff in that file. They're self-contained, just like containers are always, all the dependencies and everything's there. It just works. You can create container images on any Linux system. So you can create a container on a central Linux system and start using it on Ubuntu. And the way around. It just works. This is what So this is the container with everything in it, for example, NumPy, OpenPhone, TensorFlow, which is the deep learning thing. You can just pack everything in a container with a particular Linux distribution. And then you can start using this container on any other Linux distribution. As long as Singularity is installed there, things should work. So what you get is you can effectively start a container, get a shell inside the container environment, and suddenly you're in a different device. To run uname or which distribution is being used to effectively use it. So this allows users to bring their own environment. So they can prepare something, they can prepare the image on the Linux distributions they like, and they can just move everything to the HPC system and start using it. So integrating with the resources that are available there, GPUs, APIs. So most of this is basically passed through in Singularity. At least that's the idea. So one thing that just works out of the box is the integration with the resource manager, so like Torque or Slur. You just run the container inside a job, so there's nothing really different. It's just a different way of starting. Currently, like GPU and Xeon 5, it's pretty easy to come by. It basically just works as far as I know. MPI and things like that is a little bit more complicated because you also need to write libraries in the container. So because of the way the container is being started, you basically do MPI run Singularity application. So you're basically starting multiple containers and they start talking to each other. For that reason, the right libraries also have to be in the container as well. So then it's a little bit more complicated. We have to help users. There are ways that you can detect whether the image is compatible with the API you're running on the system. Shared file systems, everything is just there. The user starts a container. They just get the same home directory, all their files are there. Also, other file systems in the cluster, like a scratch file system. Everything is just accessible through. Status, we're getting some feedback. Sorry? We're getting some feedback. So that just all works with this, of course. It also supports multiple architectures, so traditional x86 64-bit works, Power are also supported by Singularity. So the workflow from a user point of view. So the left part is creating the container image. For this part, you need admin privileges. So you need to get access to certain parts of the file system that you need to be able to copy and so on. So for this, you need admin privileges, but you can do it anywhere. So the user can create images on their local laptop, or of course, you can do that. Also, to install Singularity, you need root. So a regular user cannot install Singularity because you need to enable separating permissions on them.
Which is also quite a problem that they create. So our users come to us and say, yes, we don't have a Linux machine, we have Windows on our laptops, and then we need to create the image.
Even there is a solution for it.
Well, then I will be happy to speak to that.
It's coming. So there, you need admin privileges, or you need to be able to run Singularity with admin privileges somewhere. There's actually a cloud solution that can use it. So once we have the image here as a regular user, you can start running it. So here you don't need to admin privileges anymore. You can run the container as it is. So you can define a script that's supposed to start when you do Singularity run. You can get a shell in the container image, so something with a different operating system, all your software is there. Everything actually works. Or you can just execute it. I forgot the difference between run and execute. Singularity Hub is the equivalent of Docker Hub. So this is a website where you can basically just upload a kind of script, a bootstrap file, which builds your container image. So here you just upload a file, and Singularity Hub builds a container image for you. You can specify which Linux distribution, what has to be installed. It's basically like a bash script that builds your container image. This is made by somebody from Stanford, and it's basically an equivalent to the Docker Hub. We also have lots of containers that people are sharing to each other. The intention of Singularity Hub is to help people do reproducible research. They can easily use containers using certain papers, for example. You can make a link to publications. You can even do peer review with each other's containers. And it's linked to the GitHub repository, so every time you update the GitHub repository, you can trigger a build of a new container image for the new version. So this is what users that don't have a local Linux system need to use. They can upload this to the Singularity Hub, and Singularity Hub builds a container image for there's integration in Singularity itself. You can straight run the container from Singularity Hub. You don't need to download it yourself at first. You can then Singularity take out for you. And then, of course, the images are cached locally. You can run the same thing again. They won't read down to the image, they just use the cache. Important aspect, of course, is performance on HPC systems. So several people have been doing some benchmarking with Singularity, comparing it to native execution, and it performs really well. Overhead is almost zero. Even when using resources like InfiniBand, BI, and they're very little overhead. It's definitely a lot lower to Docker. Where compared to Docker, mostly because of the limited namespace that people are using, there's less groups that they have to jump through. Some people have even noticed better than the native. So when running Singularity container, they are seeing better performance than they would be running the same application. There's a couple of possible reasons for this. So first, I don't want to overstate it, the differences are really small. It's a couple of percent. It's not like times 2 or times 3, so it's very, very small. But the reason they weren't quite sure actually why they were getting better performance, they just were. There's a couple of possible reasons. So that in this case, the native system they are using is CentOS 7.2, and in the container they were using a newer CentOS 7.3. So maybe by library updates or just updates in the tools they are using, they were getting better performance. Also on the Ubuntu system, so with this is a Ubuntu container running on CentOS 7.2, they're also seeing slightly better performance, at least in terms of latency and bandwidth.
You remember what software specifically they were using?
Oh, that's a good question. Here, this is the OSU benchmarks. API OSU benchmark. It's a standard benchmark. So maybe the newer library version was possibly used. Another reason is maybe that the Singularity image is a single file system. There's no delay from accessing lots of small files. That maybe. Sorry?
Caching, shared libraries, all
there's lots of effects that maybe, but at least it's a very good result. You can sometimes better performance than native. There's nothing to complain about. There's other benchmarks. So for more information on Singularity, of course, the website, the GitHub repository. There's a couple of very good recent presentations. So at the FOSDEM conference in Brussels, earlier this year, there were 2 talks about Singularity by one of the developers. So this one is a pretty basic, high-level Singularity presentation that focuses on how users can update containers in HPC. And then this one goes really deep inside how Singularity works internally, how it compares to Docker and so on. And then the talk at the Stanford conference was done by the lead developer. There's also a recent article on the Next Platform website, which is, by the way, a very good source for HPC news. On Singularity, there is a good overview. Okay, any more questions on Singularity? Yes.
Go ahead. We currently use RAPS to manage our cluster, so we're applying to CentOS 6.8. Is Singularity supported?
Yes. Okay. It'll just work. You don't really need anything special for Singularity. It even works with very old operating systems. One of the use cases they have in Stanford, they have an old desktop machine running somewhere, running Red Hat 2 or something. And this is, of course, they ended up creating a container image for this whatever application that was running on this old desktop that was slowly dying. And they have a Red Hat 2 running in the container. You can use it on any other system. Application keeps working. You don't have to worry about porting into new OS. So that's another use case. This is of course the most distribution thing. But yeah, you don't really need anything special. It works on this. Any sufficiently recent Linux mature set of 6.
I don't know if you're coming back to this, so I don't know if I'm stealing your thunder. Sure. What are the plans with ECBL and Singularity? You mentioned already. Deploying Singularity visibly or specific inside?
There's several things we can do. So one of the obvious ways is using EasyBuild to create Singularity images. We can also run EasyBuild in the Singularity image, so it's very easy to start using it. And you get access to shared file systems anyway, so you can happily run EasyBuild in the container. Another use case that's more for EasyBuild development is to shield EasyBuild from the host OS. You can basically hide everything that's available in the host OS, and that's a way for us to make sure that the installation works, that all dependencies are there, no matter what host you run. So there's several ways we can use both together. And we've been discussing, especially with Michael, how we can tackle it. We haven't found time for it yet, but hopefully we get it. Okay, let's continue.
A general question. You want the presentation to be available to it?
Yeah, sure. Stelios is going to upload them to the central website. I already sent them the slides, and maybe they're already there.
One more question.
Yes.
You mentioned that there is no Singularity that you gave the root access. What about if the kernel, the system that Singularity is running on is affected by some bug that allows you to gain the root access?
You mean the kernel in the container?
No, outside the container.
That's another story. Of course, the story with Singularity is not worse. If you already have a very old, unmaintained Linux distribution, start running Singularity there. Singularity is not going to make things better. So if you have security bugs in your host system, they could be exploited by a Singularity container or by any other application because it really changes. So you're not making things more secure, you're making things not worse. Which if you would be using Docker, it's
Yeah, what I was curious if you could use it as some kind of security measure if you are not able to update at the time. So could you create a Singularity image of your own system?
I'm not sure if that's a viable use case. It doesn't make security better, so it's not intended for that. Okay. Let's continue with another very useful tool, especially for system administrators, cluster shell. So the use case here is that as a system administrator, you often have to run commands on remote systems, sometimes a lot of remote systems. So say you have a cluster with 1,000 worker nodes, and you need to run a command to check on something, to deploy something, or whatever. You need to run it on all 1,000 nodes at once. Scripting that, and you're just waiting to be very patient. That's usually the language a lot. The obvious solution is a for loop, but it's very slow if you have lots of worker nodes, even though it's very parallel. Everything is independent, so you can do things in parallel. Also, often you need to compare the output of the commands you're getting. The command maybe spitting output, and if on some worker nodes the output is different, you want to know, or you want, because that's probably the nodes want to pay more attention. And sometimes specifying which nodes to run may be tricky as well. Like if 15 nodes are down of 1,000, if you exclude those in the script, then things may get tricky. Also, being able to run this from custom Python script that you do yourself in a parallel way would be very good. So there's a tool like this, p- allows you to run commands remotely, but it doesn't really fit the full use case here. So there's no Python integration. You can't really use p- from a Python script. Also, the command line is like chopped into pieces. If you want to run commands, you use p-. If you want to compare outputs, you have to find all the p- outputs to a separate tool, p-back. If you want to copy files, there's another tool you have to use. It also it scales up to some level, but not to hundreds or at least tens of thousands of nodes. So it's not very smart about the scale. You can do things in parallel, but only up to certain level.
What about in parallel?
Sorry?
Do you know in parallel?
GNU parallel, maybe, but I don't think GNU parallel has something to compare outputs or even Python integration. I don't know if GNU parallel has Python integration. So I'm of course going towards cluster shell. GNU parallel is more for use in jobs and to make things that are sequential rather than parallel. I don't think it's really intended for use cases.
How about parallel SSH or assembly?
I'm not sure about those. So I don't know if they have Python integration. Let me show you what cluster shell does, and maybe that helps. So cluster shell is a project that was originally from the CAHC Center in France, and more recently, one of the main developers is also from Stanford. So the idea here is sorry for the spoilers. So it's a tool for running shell commands on remote systems in a parallel way, very scalable, and will also support for comparing outputs, very robust, so it handles nodes that are temporarily not available in a good way. You can use it as a Python library, so you can just import cluster shell with a Python script and then do the exact same things as you can do with the command line version. And it's active and maintained on GitHub. So it has a couple of commands. The main command is the flush command, which is used for remote execution of commands. It has a similar interface to edash, so you kind of see cluster shell as a better version of edash. Underneath, it just does standard SSH or RSH connections, or you can also write a small Python script that tells cluster shell how to connect to the remote systems. Has lots of options, so you can specify target nodes just by node name, or you can predefine groups of nodes. So you can say cluster shell run these commands on my favorite cluster rather than having to specify all the node names every time. You can copy files in parallel, both from your host to the remote systems and the other way. Using the flush tool, has a smart display of outputs or command results. And I'll show some of that. You can control and how many connections are being used at the same time using the timeout option. So typically, if you have 1,000 nodes, you don't want to start 1,000 SSH connections at the same time, because there are going to be some limits somewhere in the running to start figuring. And the tree modes they have, and for this, let me take a look at the website. They have a paper. How the tree mode works is basically builds a tree. So rather than executing the SSH command directly from your host to the remote, it does one or two hops, which makes it very scalable. So depending on how big your cluster is, you can use a couple of hops to make it scale really well. It has two companion tools. The node set tools for managing node sets, so even with node groups, you can easily count how many nodes are in a group. You can show the full set of nodes, so you can use the node set tool and just standard bash scripts that you may want to use, rather than defining node groups yourself. Talk to Slurm, for example, or get node groups from external sources. You can join, set, exclude nodes that are broken. Commands is built into summarize the output. You can leverage this straight from Flush when using one of these functions. So when you're using cluster shell as a Python library, you basically import from the cluster shell package. You can define node sets. This is maybe hard to read. This is defining a node set for nodes 24. 01 until 10, so this is a group of 10 nodes. And this is a predefined group of all login nodes, for example. And here's just clicking to use it. And you can also run command remotely in a Python script using the off-the-shelf packaging. On the command line, it works something like this. So the node set tool you can use to figure out on which nodes you want to run things. So here it's just listing 5 nodes. Here it's counting how many nodes are in the component group. So component is one of our clusters in the end. So it has 200 worker nodes, so this is the full set. And here I'm running the command module-version remotely on all the developed worker nodes. I'm using 10 connections in parallel. And then the -b tells Flash to summarize the output and basically show which nodes are giving different output. So in this case, all 200 nodes are giving the exact same output, which is what I was hoping for, with the module version. I was actually running this from the airport on the connection on my phone, and it ran in 100 seconds. So it's a very lightweight tool with an admin or a lot of overhead to the SLA connection with this tool. It's very smart. Okay, so it's very short. For more information on Cluster Shell, definitely take a look at the website and their very good documentation as well. There's a mailing list and report on the bugs that you may run into. There's a recent article /docs on Cluster Shell. It is quite interesting, and there's a presentation as well, a short presentation at the FOSDEM 2016. If you have a need for a tool like this, definitely take a look at Cluster Shell. I don't know if this answers your questions you have with the other tools, how it's different. So, okay. What tools like this?
Terms is
Yeah.
They don't have outputs on that.
That's typically one of the things we involve. It's not only about running commands we want, it's also getting stuff back, maybe exit code. Also, I didn't show this here, but this has a good way of dealing with nodes that are not available. So if one of these 200 could be available, it would just be mentioned separately that this node could not be reached.
Yeah, I usually go for the least.
Yeah, visually that's what I used to do as well. Yeah.
You mentioned also Slurm integration,
Yes.
which is also pretty good, right?
Yeah.
What kind of things there? I mean, can you say cite
You can run any slurp command that spits out a list of nodes. So like slurp give me all the down nodes. Well, down nodes is maybe not very useful if you want SSH into that. Let's say all not SSH. Yeah. Like all the free nodes, for example. So stuff like this you can just
probably also the job. Potentially, does it go to that level of integration?
any slurp command. You can just redefine, let's say,
Is that also available to users? That also
is this available to users?
yes, you make this available.
Well, we don't, but it could be available to users. Of course, they will be
They
limited
could
to nodes that they can access. But sure, there's no reason to. It doesn't need any special rights. It's just making SSH connections. Yeah. Okay. Keep an eye on time. Okay. So two other tools I want to briefly cover are Exalt and OGRP. So these are tools that do something very similar, but in a slightly different way. So the use case here is to track the use of software on HPC systems. So what we want to do is figure out what software is being used in our cluster. This may sound trivial, but it's actually not that easy to figure out what people are doing. People are running jobs, maybe you can look into job scripts, but to get a full view of what's being used on the cluster, where most compute time is going, which software versions are people using, that's nice. So what we want to do here is figure out which scientific software or just tools in general are consuming most of the compute time in our cluster. That's maybe where we want to focus our efforts. We also want to see, are people actually using the installations we provide, or are they just using tools available in the OS? Like, are they using the standard GCC or maybe awk, or who knows what tools are using? Or are they building their own software and trying to figure out things themselves? Also, are the installations we provide are actually being used? So, spend a lot of effort in doing installations, making sure things are okay, making sure even things are updated, but people actually using them. So, if they're not using them, then why do we go? Also, are old software installations still being used? Can we keep things up, or do we still keep things around? We need to tell people to switch to the newer version. So all of this really requires that you know which software is being used in your system. Also, for the people already familiar with modules, if you're just checking which modules are being loaded, that's not really reliable, because people may be loading the same module all the time, even though they're not using the software behind it. In the Bash C startup script, for example, they have a couple of module loads that are just sitting there and they forgot about it. And you're not really using the software anymore, but you're still seeing the module loads. It doesn't really tell you whether they're actually still using this. And also, what if the job is loading multiple modules, where is the time actually being spent? So, which is the main application in the job. A problem with this is if you want to track usage, it should be very lightweight. It should have no impact on the applications being run. And it should never cause any problems. So if there's a bug or a problem with the usage tracking, it's like maybe the location where things are being logged is full, so there's no disk or something. You don't want to have this cause problems for users. So it should be fully transparent. Users should know that they are being spied on, basically. So there are two tools for that have merged recently. So the first one is Exalt. It's a tool by Robert McLean from the Texas Advanced Computing Center. There used to be a similar tool like this, Alt-V, and Robert was a co-developer of Alt-V, so Exalt is basically a better version of Alt-V, so the Alt-V thing is basically dead, and Exalt is supposed to replace it. And this is a tool to track which programs and even libraries, even functions and libraries are being used on HPC systems, so it can go very deep. It has a version, Exalt 1 is there. Version of Exalt 1. It's not actively developed. It's already available, but it's not fully stable yet, even though many sites are already using it. Version 1 was implemented in Python. It turned out that the Python version had problems with making sure it doesn't interfere with users' jobs. So it was very difficult to protect it from outside influence. In C++, you can just make a static line to this one. It fits the use case, so it's very lightweight, it's transparent, people don't even know it's being used, it's very robust. So what it does is, it does two things. It should be in rolling around. So it does runtime tracking. Basically, anytime Linux binary is being started, Exalt gets loaded via LD preload, and then it does a magic trick in the ELF header. It figures out it's being started. Also, when the process is stopped, there's the free part of the ELF header is triggered, so Exalt also knows that things are stopping. So you can see how well things are running. Also track things like the environment, if the environment is running. If you want to get into full detail, I also track which libraries and functions are being used. Then you have to also allow Exalt to interfere when things are being compiled, actually being linked. So the Exalt library is to be linked into the libraries. If this is not the case, Exalt can still track things, but it just doesn't get as much detail. It still has which processes are running, which runtime, but it doesn't get which libraries and functions are being used, which may be too much detail.
What about companions? So it can't.
Well, it tracks any user process, any processes.
The contract of the list inside.
And in the case of singularity, I think it can, because I think the processes are just a sub-process of the singularity. I'm not fully sure about that, but I think it will work. That's a good question. Another tool, very similar to Exalt, is OGRT. Basically the same use case. This is implemented by an Austrian guy who used to work at the Bioinformatics Institute in freelance. Basically the same use case, very lightweight, very transparent, very robust. This one is implemented in C and Go. Doesn't have any runtime dependencies, so it's a static binary, very easy to deploy. Basically also works with LD preload. It's a little bit more limited than Exalt. It can only track dynamic binaries. So you cannot link in the OGRT binary while compiling it. A little bit more.
Yeah, two slides back, please. Or next slide. So you can use Exalt without linking it in or using it during compilation.
Yeah.
And that will give you the use of executables.
Yes, executables, how long things run, the environment they're running.
And if you link it in during anyway,
If you just need that result available and you can replace the link. Yeah.
So and then but if you link it in, you can get libraries.
Yes, libraries, functions, and libraries, which may be too much detail.
But then we always face the issue where we have a tool chain that's I don't know 5 years old now, and we want to see how we can get rid of it.
You know the environment that processes are running in for any program, so you know which module are running. So you
can tell that from the paths of the executables and all that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So there's two tools. So how do they compare? I spent a bit of time on it when I was talking to both Robert and Geo to get this comparison now. This is you need to know enough about both tools to actually do the comparison well. So the programming language is a little bit different, but that's not a big concern. So Go is a little bit more tricky to build maybe than standard C++. OGRT can log to a Splunk instance or Elasticsearch, log to the standard file. At least not now, at least in this version. Exalt can log to a database, a file, or just spit out things in this log, and then you can pick these up from there. The use case, the main use case for OGRT is to track a lot of jobs, a lot of small jobs, a lot of executables. While in Exalt, originally the use case was to track large API jobs. Yeah. Slightly different background. OGRT does real-time data collection in the sense that there's an OGRT server running. That happens. The OGRT server sends the data to the whatever backend you're using. So that means if a user starts a program, half a second later, you can actually see it popping up in the analytics server. For Exalt, at least in the use case they recommend, it's slightly different. So the data gets dumped to a file or syslog. Maybe 90 or a couple of times a day, you consume it from there into a database and you can query. You can also do DirectDB, but they don't recommend it. Tracking here, so for OGRT, it's don't be on the preload. For Exalt, it uses the else init trick, so it catches anything. Or you can also do that. And actually, by default, Exalt was built just to make them sure. For MPI programs, Exalt only tracks the first rank. Because if you have an MPI program with 1,000 processes, you don't really care about the environment of all 1,000, because it's probably going to be the same anyway. And you can easily fit them back to ignore the other ranks. OGRT doesn't do this, and you have to take this into account because they run a lot of big API applications. You're getting a lot of data that's very simple. So you have to do it. OGRT is used in the IDMA Institute in Austria, and also a private company here, but they told me not to. So it's a big company that's using it. I think I'm not supposed to say it because the system administrator set it up, but they don't want to let all their users know that I'm actually using it. I think that's it. Exalt is used at TAC, next to several sites in the US, also at Faust. And there's actually a company providing commercial support for it. So if you have some want to set up a service contract or with them to set up Exalt for you, they can actually help you making sure that you can manage the data and so on. So one of the problems you run into when you start using Exalt is that you suddenly have a lot of big data to worry about. So if you're tracking all events on your cluster, there's a lot going on, probably a lot going on that you don't care about. So one of the things that Robert said when I was helping him out a little bit with Exalt, big data sucks. So you get tons of data that you have to sift through and analyze, and you want to get the interesting events and not maybe on it. So by default, if you set things up right, everything is tracked, including stuff like LSCD, CP, which you maybe not want to know about. Also, it captures the full environment, so you can easily get 250 environment variances for every event. So that's a lot of data. You can easily, even on a small cluster, and I ran the numbers for our cluster, which has 250 nodes, you can easily get 1 gigabyte per day of events if you're not filtering. So that ramps up really quickly. If you have big clusters, this is really something to worry about, and they walk as you go. Going to totally perspective. Both tools have support for filtering.
Do they come with some default filters?
Yeah, they do.
Because cut stuff like the shell or the LS.
Yeah, less things like even environment variables you probably don't care about, like home.
Okay.
Yeah. So it comes with out-of-the-box filters or certainly recommendations to set filters up. So you typically want to filter out some binaries like an SCD, just filter them out, or maybe focus on specific binaries that are installed in some application. For example, where you install the software, maybe you don't care about using OS tools or not. Also, the environment variables, you can kick stuff out and it's basically irrelevant, or that has duplicate information if you know about the name. And maybe you can also focus on process, like only certain workloads use certain clusters. Again, with API, you also have to be a little bit careful because you get lots of duplicate data if you're not using a little bit smart. You may want to get duplicate data so you can check on things. Depends on what so once you have the data, what can you do with it? You can do targeted outreach. You can start talking to people that are using old versions of software, that are using a library that has a known bug that will affect the results, and so on. So you know what people are using, so you can actually do targeted communication. You can also check how software is being used. Is it being used in the correct way? You build software in a certain way with a particular API library, you better make sure that they're using that same API library at runtime. Otherwise, things may work, probably not the way you want. You can also check if they're really using the resources they request. Like if you're asking for a job that has 20 cores, but they're only using 1 core, the Exalt and the OJT data actually tell you like the resources were not used at all. They were not even using memory on the nodes. So there was no reason to ask for a 20-core job. They were only using resources from 1 core. They use this actually at TAC where they have a big memory queue. The waiting times were really getting very long for the big memory queue, so they started looking at the jobs running in that queue, and they figured out that like half of the jobs would even belong there. So they just asked people, please make sure you only submit to the big memory queue if you really have to. Sorry? Yeah, that wasn't 10. Yeah. And they offloaded everything, and then the waiting times in the queue were big. So they used the Exalt data for this. You can also see where compute time is being spent. So you can, if you want to optimize the computation time that's being used on your cluster, of course you want to target the big applications where application time is low, or compute time is low. So they have this collecting the data and studying it. They noticed that AWK was getting like 30% of compute time, which is just a standard tool in the US. And it turns out that lots of binary competitions were using this in their pipelines to summarize things, to count things in files and so on. So they installed an optimized version of AWK, and some of the users were so happy that they could install it. So the standard information must be involved. And you can also do targeted benchmarking. So if you know which applications are being used in your system, you want to buy a new system, you can make sure the system works well for these applications. So it opens up a lot of possibilities. Sure.
How do you get the information about computer disease by each track application? Do you somehow correlate the data from itself with your scheduler's output?
Well, you can correlate. So yeah, you can correlate the data with the data you get from your scheduler and business manager, but also Excel itself knows. Because it tracks both the start and the end of the process. So it knows how much time is in between.
Okay, so you track the CPU time, but you don't know the,
Well,
for example,
it will track all that. You will see how long something was done. So if it started at 10 a.m. and it stopped at 11, you will run all time. All time, yeah. It can only track all time. It doesn't do. Well, you can correlate. So if you have events, typically if you're entering the environment, you have the job ID as well. So you can use that to couple with all of the, for example, from the research manager, maybe from other tools that do lots of collecting of statistics and jobs that are running.
and the same goes for the request resources like cores and memories. So again, you need to correlate it.
You need to check it with research manager. Maybe you can find it in the environment as well. Typically, you see. Yeah, just check which one it was using, what was requesting, and whether that overlaps.
Yeah, but neither Excel or OGR does do that.
Fine. No, not like that. So it's multiple data sources that you combine somewhere else. Excel is just the number of data sources. So an example of what you can do with Excel, so this was on X. It's quite old data, but it's relevant. So they were checking the top 20 executables. So the y-axis is the number of core hours being spent in total. The x-axis is the number of jobs. So when you have very few jobs, like this one is between 100 and 500 jobs, but it was getting most long time of all executables. So very long running jobs, very big jobs, big MPI jobs. Fast, for example, has lots of smaller jobs that take a big part of all. So suddenly you get a good view of what's actually being run. I think the size of the circles is how many different users are running the applications. Which is 3D. And I think, I don't know if it's in here, but one of the problems they have with Excel is that they were getting lots of A.out programs, which is the A.out is the default name for binaries that you compile. So people were just compiling their own thing. They weren't even bothering giving it a proper name, just run it into the plan. And then it's very difficult to figure out what you're actually doing. It doesn't really show up here, but I know in one of the other data sets it was like the top application.
Was that visualization was directly from Excel?
This is just based on this is using the data that's available that Excel collected, but it's just queries to the database, counts, the top 20. It's just SQL, but it's basically so Excel doesn't include any visualization. It just focuses on collecting.
And students were not happy with this graph.
Sorry? Oh, this is not our site. This is Nixon.
I mean, no, you just somehow, I don't know what you're with. But in OGRT, you added the elastic. Like,
You can also use elastic. Yeah. So
elastic would probably do it better, but can you like correlate between jobs in the scheduler, jobs?
you just push all the data.
That they have come here.
The job ID is in the environment. The job ID is typically in the environment if you want to judge. For every event, you typically have the job ID. Okay. So more information on both tools for the websites, GitHub. but both of them have pretty good documentation. Here it's in the README file. And the recent presentations on Exalt, so at both of them, and at the EasyGo community. So both Robert and Georg are a part of the EasyGo community. At the ISC session in Germany this year, so the supercomputing conference in Germany, there's a virtual fellow session on both Exalt and computing. So Robert and Georg are teaming up to talk about tracking usage of software on HPC clusters, and they're going to show how both tools work, how they compare, and how to work. So they're not fighting, they're actually collaborating. Okay.
Just one thing. So,
yeah.
When I think about major drawbacks that you said, so one is the big data from one, because with the Excel, we got a lot of information. But the other one was, for example, this A out problem. From the administrator's point of view, would it be just better to track the model trace? Because he doesn't administrator responsible for modules installation, not for every 80 out binary that the user is provided. So rather to really monitor the usage, the loading and unloading of the modules, and using that information as an input for what you should be taking care of.
You're good, and you should be doing that as well, but it only gives you a partial view of the system. In AUCs, I talked about, you will not see that people are using standard OS tools and spending a lot of computations on that. It's just a paper. And as I mentioned, it's not because people are loading modules, they're actually using the software behind modules. They may be loading Python, Perl, I don't know what tools, just to have them available if they need it. And it doesn't mean they're actually using them. And also, if you're loading multiple modules in JavaScript, you don't know where computation time is being spent. You just know that the module is doing. So it gives you a lot less information. It's a good first step, and that's actually what we are doing in Kenneth as well. We won't start looking at examples as well.
Yes, I can might be totally continuing whether it's such an details so important, or because it also depends on the size of the machine. A big machine, and also you really care about, for example, 5% of the users which are really trying to do. And then you just need to know as an administrator, okay, so you need to support the Python 2.7.9 version, or can you switch to 3.5?
How do you know if people are using the system? Should Exalt?
That's the discussion before it's still quality was not, because I can say, okay, I provide you the Python even in modules. So if I remove it as a system package, for example, if I new sample as only Python 3, something, and that doesn't units anymore. So I just say, okay, you have then the user starts to ask, right? Because hopefully something well, he probably doesn't go away. It's not. It's right. Yeah, I think we all fight the next papers.
Yeah, so tracking models is definitely a good idea. That's what we're doing involved. But I see it as a first step. You want to get a read view of what's being used. Maybe you're not interested in that. Maybe you don't think it's if you want to get a read view, then you just track the model. So,
but it also Excel gives you module tracking.
Yeah, it gives you a lot more
at the same time.
Yeah, and Exalt gives you that a lot more. Sure. Okay. So one last project I want to mention briefly before we dive into EasyGo and LMOD is OpenHPC. This will be very brief. OpenHPC. Who's using it?
Sorry, I have a t-shirt. Sorry? I have a t-shirt.
I have a t-shirt, yes.
I have stickers.
Not really using it, right? Because it's more like packages. Just used in some way or another. Yeah.
So OpenHPC is basically a collection of packages of HPC tools. So what they do is they package lots of HPC software like Slur, Werewolf for configuration management, Bookages, Elbow, Easy Build, Cluster Shell is in there. Singularity will be in there probably in the next version of HPC. So lots of things are just there. They provide like ISO images to get you started, lots of packages on here you can install quite easily. You don't have to figure out how to install Cluster Shell, Easy Build, Elbow, everything is just there out of the box. They have images for both CentOS and SUSE distributions, and they support x86, of course, already, and they're also looking into ARM. They already have a distribution for ARM, so they call it TechReads, it's like a pilot version. They also include pre-built packages for compilers, so of course, you see it there. They also include Intel compilers, where it's a bring your own license thing, so they can provide you the RPMs if you have a license. They provide API installations on top of these compilers, so the standard API, OpenAPI, MPitch, MPA-Pitch is all there. And then also a couple of libraries and tools on top of this our package. So it really helps you to kickstart your HPC environment. Maybe just to play around with and figure things out, for training, or maybe because they're a very small site, you use the, let's say, basic tools that are being used in HPC. It also has documentation of best practices on guidelines how to configure these tools. They're also very much talking to the communities behind these tools. So it's not like they're just packaging it and then throwing their hands up. They're also trying to work with the communities to fix bugs, to fix issues, and people on the road. So it really lowers the barrier to entry for HPC. The initial release of OpenHPC and made a lot of noise there was at Supercomputing in 2015. And they've been doing regular releases since then. The latest one is in March, and there's a new one coming up. 131, which, if things go right, should also do it well. I don't have much more on OpenHPC and just on a bunch of pointers. Website, the GitHub repository where they do all the packaging, so everything is done out in the open. You can help out if you want to. So typically, I update the easy build package straight away into the release version there.
How do you update that? Because in the beginning you just send it to Chris, yeah.
Chris Coral.
You created an issue at OpenHPC to update a package, and I don't know because they have been changing a lot of stuff.
What I do is just update the spec file. In the GitHub repository, they have a spec file. I just dump the version.
Yeah.
And you can get access to their testing environments. You can test the spec file before actually doing the pull request.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Should just ask the Carl or Craig.
Bart.
Yeah, I think it's Craig. Bart. He gave me access to my own version of their testing environment. So you just update the spec file there, see if it builds, and then you can say, okay, this works for me. Yeah. It's quite easy to configure if you want. Carl Schultz, the main guy behind OpenHPC, which is an Intel employee, flew over to FOSDEM to give a presentation, which is available here. And they also have a recent paper, System Professional Workshop. They have a presentation that's available on the website. Okay, before we continue, any questions on these tools? Oh, that is equal to that. So who learned something new? Excellent. Of course, a lot of other interesting projects to see. These are the main ones that I wanted to cover. And then I'm pleased a little bit familiar with myself. I've been talking to most of the people behind this. Okay. Let's check the time. So for the rest of the session, we're going to be talking about EasyBuild and Helmut almost exclusively. So first I'm going to motivate things a bit. So why do we need EasyBuild and Helmut, and how do they actually work, what can we solve? And then in the last part of the session, also going to talk about installing and configuring both tools, how you use them, what type of workflow we have with them, and then some advanced topics and cool features. So first of all, let's take a step back and see what kind of tasks HPC users support this have. So, of course, they're helping the user with any problems that occur on the clusters. Which may be very basic, like help, I can't log in anymore, I forgot my password, or I lost my SSH key. How do I get access again? Or my account was disabled? And what? Job that are crashing, or things that suddenly stopped working even though they didn't change anything.
Almost thousands of years.
Yeah, usually when they say they didn't change anything, you better double check. Also answering their questions, so maybe they can't figure out how to use the systems. These may be very simple, like which module do I load to use Python 3, or they may be very technical, like how do I use TensorFlow and GPUs for analyzing the data set. Maybe you just would say, okay, now you have to talk to other people, but maybe you can help them get in touch with people that may help them. Of course, a big part of it is installing the scientific software. And I'll do that in detail. Also, helping users to improve their workflow, not necessarily by request. Maybe you notice that people are doing a suboptimal way. A good example of something I ran into recently. We had a guy that wanted to submit 300,000 jobs, and he was opening a ticket because the system didn't allow him to submit 300,000 jobs. They could, okay, we can figure that well. It's not really the intention. Then started explaining what they wanted to do, and each of the jobs basically supposed to run. And I said, it's good that you're not able to submit the job, because every job has overhead. You have to do some checking before the job starts, there's some bookkeeping, the engineer has to make some plays for the job, and so on. So this is not going to work. It was going to take you months to get these jobs through if you would submit them in batches. So we helped them out looking into a different tool that basically submits one big job and runs all the tasks inside the big job, and then you can do the same job in like 3 days. So he was very happy, and we were very happy as well that he was not crashing the system. So yeah, sometimes users just try things and start moving around and do things, but that's really not the best way. Also, of course, training. So Linux basics is a big one because a lot of people don't really know how to use Linux. You need to at least get around on the system, and for the people that are into programming, so basic Python script. Things that we would like to do, but we don't have time for, is looking at the large scientific applications that are being used and trying to do a better way of optimizing them, installing them, get it improved to save time, and maybe also consultancy services, actually helping the scientists develop the tools they need for their research. So this is things we just never get. So to focus on software installation, typically this is done by user request. So somebody was at a conference, they heard about a new tool and want to start using it or something. Please try it for the research. Or they know about version updates, they want to get built maybe in a different way because some of you can do distributed computing, I did that before, or they know about typically, typically software installations are done a shared file system. Not always, but that's the typical use case. So basically, you install the software once on a shared file system, it's available on each group. Ideally, you are targeting the installations to the cluster that they're going to be using. So you would build from source, if the source is available. You would have a separate installation for each type of cluster, for each generation of cluster. If you have old CPUs and new CPUs, you can do newer builds or not build for the newer cluster. And typically, you optimize for the system architecture. So you compile options like MRH native, GCC, or X hosted Intel, really make sure they are reading the latest instructions like AVX that the CPUs. There are compiler, newer updates of the compiler or the libraries that are being used. Maybe you want to do the whole exercise again because hopefully you will get better performance with the newer API version of the new compiler. What's also typical, at least certainly we're doing this again, is that the installations stay there as long as the system is available. So unless you're running out of disk space, you never throw away your installation. So a question we get a lot is, please install software on the HPC. This is certainly the typical question we get from users. In terms of rough numbers, I think it's about a quarter of all support tickets for us, but it takes way more than a quarter of our time. So it may be very easy to install the software, but very often we say, we start looking into documentation, we need this first, start looking into dependencies, and then this dependency has other dependencies. And before you know, you're working the whole week to install something, and then it may end up with an XP. So typically installing scientific software can be quite painful. Sometimes the documentation is very outdated and you just have to try and see which dependencies it needs. Maybe get a test case from the user so you can actually test the installation and so on. It can be very repetitive and boring. I don't think it's boring to know it's something easy. It can be very time consuming, spending hours, days, weeks to get something installed is not an exception. And then, of course, when you finish the installation, there's a version update. And it can be frustrating. So dependency now is something that pops up. So some of the common issues with scientific software. So when scientists write software, they're typically not software developers. So they just want to implement the software to get their science done. The science is what they care about. So they're not software developers, they're not system administrators, and also that's not that job. They're doing science. So one quote, and I don't know who said this, because it's not so much. We would know what we were doing, it would be focused. So because these scientists are writing software, you get situations like they use non-standard build tools or build tools that nobody else is using or that are maybe broken. Incomplete build procedures, so they just, maybe there's no way to configure the build, and you just say run make and it work. You will get a binary, so just use the binary, so no installation step. Sometimes the script that you get are interactive, and then it goes really fun, you can start asking questions rather than easily automate things. Typically, lots of parameters in make files, for example, are hard coded. So there's only one compiler, which is GCC. You want to compile things out, that's change things a little bit. Maybe the locations of libraries or versions of libraries are hard coded. And very often the documentation is either poor or complete. So these crazy scientists build all the software and we get to install. One example I always like to give is Word or WRF. So who knows about Word? Who has installed it? Who likes installing it? Yeah, well, you're not cheating because you're using easy, but yes. So Word is well-known software, has a dozen dependencies, so it's not too bad. It's seen worse. Most of them are relatively easy to install. Well, let's see, the end got split up into C, C++, and Fortran, which is a bit of a headache, so that's a little bit annoying. The other ones are not too bad. One of the things they do if they find any bugs in the software, they don't do a bug fix release, but they have a website and they say, oh, please patch this file, go to this line and code. But why not do a bug fix? So you have to keep an eye on that. They don't even provide a patch file, they just give you instructions and then give you the patch file. You have to create a patch file yourself. The configure script they give you is an interactive script. You say configure, we know how this works, you configure it as a prefix. And it says, no, please pick a compiler, GCC, or Intel, or PGI, what kind of architecture are you building on, and so on. And so fill out a number. The fun thing is they also change the numbers between releases. And you know what? How you do that? So you can't even, if you automate, you have to be really careful because the option 2 you picked before is not the same option 2 the next release. So this configure script spits out a configuration file, configure of Word. And then they tell you, please check the file, and typically if they change things, because they don't get things right, or maybe you want to do different compiler options, or libraries are not being found, or the wrong location. They still have to edit the configure file. They have a custom compile script, which is basically a wraparound make, as far as I can tell. I think it's a Perl script that it's called make, something like that. It has an option to build in parallel, but at least in my experience with the version I'm building, it doesn't work, you have to fix the main cloud and make it run in parallel. Okay, and there's no installation steps. It just builds in place, and the devices are there somewhere, not even in the bin somewhere, and you can start using it. It's a mess. And this is a very big application. Brand knows that this is one of the big applications we use in the US. Lots of computer engineers. Software engineering side of it, at least in terms of how to install it, is a little bit scary. I hope it doesn't apply to the code as well. That's a bit of a mess. So yeah, we have a big issue. Installing scientific software is a big issue for HPC sites all over the world. Everybody support spend a lot of time on this, and typically, at least in the past, people just run manual. If there's not enough time to install software, or we're getting too many requests, we just hire you. The researchers, they use a lot of time to review the request, maybe it takes weeks or months before the software that you need is there, and maybe by the time it's there, it's no longer relevant for what they do, or they know about better techniques. We just move on. So sites try to automate this in the past, and then we work really well. We do something house quickly, but not really collaborate with other sites, even though it's very effective. If you want to become invaluable in your site, make sure you are the guy that's always doing the job. So, of course, there are tools out there to install software. This is not a new problem. Unfortunately, the space we are in is a little bit special. So, the scientific software and HPC systems are not, so most of these tools are really not a good fit for the environment. So package managers typically don't package a lot of scientific software because it's a big mess, and also because they have other dependencies like API, typically not really well provided by package managers. Only works on Mac OS, so they have a Linux fork as well. There is some scientific software in there, but I haven't seen a lot of system administrators using something like Vim to install their scientific software. Portage is there for Gentoo. I don't know how big the set of scientific software is. Was it NCSA, Brett, where they have a Gentoo version or a Gentoo way of installing software?
They're using Gentoo prefix to maintain, particularly Python.
Mostly for Python. It's used in some places, but it's more an exception. All tools like package source, this support tens of thousands tools and software. Here as well, it's not really a good fit for HPC. And Nix and Geek, so these are two very new tools. They are functional package managers. So they have a very particular way of doing things. They're getting a lot of attention, and they're trying to get in the HPC space. They're talking about using Nix and Geeks to install scientific software or install software in HPC systems. But I have a feeling they're not really getting the use cases. These are not HPC system administrators that are doing this, but they're Geeks people trying to get into the HPC space. And if I talk to them, they don't really know the core problems. And they only support GCC because why would you ever use a conversion compiler? It's not a good fit for HPC, at least not for me. So most of these tools don't really have good support for installing multiple versions at the same time, which is very important to do. On HPC, have several builds side by side, and you can just pick what you want. Some of them are just not flexible enough to deal with all the trouble you run into with scientific software. And then support for scientific software is an issue because of these problems, and also other compilers like GCC, API support, and so on. Lastly, so when we started looking into this in our team back in 2009, we started running into the issue of having to install lots of software for users. And we started looking around for tools or ways that other HPC sites would use. We couldn't really find anything. So which was strange to us, but yeah, we couldn't find a good solution. The initial attempt that Stain, who ended up creating EasyBuild, took us trying to package everything at the end, so like spec files for scientific software, and he quickly figured out that that wasn't a good way to go. It wasn't going to work out. So he started the EasyBuild project from scratch, basically. Basically figure out by himself how to do it. It's implemented in Python 2, and the lead development is still done by the HPC. So it's basically a tool or maybe a framework to build and install scientific software with HPC. So it's really targeted to scientific software and HPC. Today it supports a bunch of different compilers, both GCC, Intel compilers, Clang, PGI is their basic support. Also different NPI libraries, of course, and it supports well over 1,000 different software packages. And new ones are being added weekly, so every release we do, like 40 to 50 different ones, new ones we have. One other important thing as well is the community. So the community is getting not very big, but it's quite active and very helpful. If you start using EasyBuild quickly and have some questions, you can figure things out. It's relatively easy to get some good help. 5 minutes before the break, so let's see. So EasyBuild has been out there for 5 years. It was developed in-house since 2009, so the Stain started the project. And after a couple of years, we were confident enough that it was stable enough and the implementation was okay enough that we could do public release. So the initial intention was maybe to get some feedback. We were half expecting other HPC sites to tell us, a bunch of idiots who invented something yourself, but this tool has been used for 15 years. Everybody. It didn't end up happening. And actually, lots of people were, shortly after we did the release, looking for tools like this, found EasyBuild, started using it, and we're fairly happy with it from the start. Actually, the guys here in Cypress Institute were one of the first sites in Europe that picked it up. I think it were among the first 5 for using it. So first public release in April 2012. And then after getting some feedback, we stabilized the tool. Decided that we're going to try and make it work the same way and do backwards compatible releases. And then this was basically done during Super. Since then, we've had frequent releases, both releases that add new features or bug fix releases after people reported some issues. And the last release was done last month. Development is very much driven by the community. So the community is reporting bugs with feature requests and also contributing changes themselves. So we basically take what comes in, we review it, test it. If it's okay, it gets included. And then every couple of weeks we do release whatever is in there by then is included. So the feature highlights, maybe let me keep this for after the break. Because there's a lot of stuff to cover here. Yes? Say yes? We have the coffee break now? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's have the coffee break now to get back to this item.
Yeah. No.